This story ain't your average street drama. This one's straight out of the Chicago trenches. The feds ain't just pointing fingers at Durk. They brought up his homie OTF Dede, a name that's been buzzing for all the wrong reasons. But y'all don't even know the half of it. This story's deeper than the murder case he beat, his kidnapping by the ops, and his wild journey through the system. We finna break it all down. So let's start with OTF Dede. Dude came up in the same neighborhood as Durk, repping Tay-Town, a crew tied to the Lamron set. Now, Durk's from Lamron, but Lil Reese himself said Tay-Town and Lamron are essentially one and the same. They're like the same block with different names. Tay-Town's been down since 2011, after Durk's homie TC got killed, and TC was repping Lamron before that happened. Durk and TC were tight. While Durk was hustling to make it in the rap game, TC's death turned into a deadly revenge tale. The streets of Chicago have always been a breeding ground for war, and this beef between Lamron, Tay-Town, and Shields was no exception. It all started after TC, a beloved figure in Lamron, was murdered in 2011. Word on the street was that TC's death was linked to a long-standing feud with a GD faction known as Shields. The tensions were already high between Lamron and Shields, and TC's murder was like the match that lit the fire. Lamron and Tay-Town weren't just mourning the loss of their own. They were gearing up for war. Blood was spilled, and it became a deadly cycle of retaliation and revenge. The beef wasn't just some neighborhood rivalry, it was personal. Shields, with its own dangerous reputation, had been clashing with Lamron and Tay-Town for years. In 2014, the tension reached a boiling point when a guy from Shields named Nino allegedly killed Weezy, an affiliate of Lamron. Weezy's death was one more name added to the ever-growing list of casualties, but the streets were murky. Officially, many of these deaths went unconfirmed, leaving the door open for wild speculation. Some say that the real culprits weren't even from Shields but other sets that had ties to the violence. But what we do know for sure is that OTF Dede wasn't one to sit on the sidelines. Nah, he wasn't just letting the ops get away with it. After Weezy's death, he allegedly went into full savage mode and slid on the Shields crew, allegedly with a few other BDs by his side. The mission? Straight retaliation. Word around the block is that OTF Dede got his hands dirty, taking out a member of Shields in cold blood. This wasn't some small-time hit. This was a serious message being sent. And it wasn't the last time OTF Dede would be involved in street violence. His name became synonymous with putting in work, taking bodies, and ensuring that Lamron stayed on top of the power game. For Lamron, the feud with Shields wasn't just about payback. It was about survival. The gangs in Chicago don't just battle for territory, they fight for respect. Shields might have been a dangerous foe, but Lamron's crew wasn't going down without a fight. The bodies piled up as both sides fought tooth and nail for dominance, each death fueling more hatred, more bloodshed. And with OTF Dede stepping up to the plate, the message to Shields was clear. If you kill one of ours, we're coming for you, and we don't stop until it's done. As the streets of Chicago continued to simmer with violence, the ties between Lamron, Tay-Town, and Shields grew even more entangled. And as for OTF Dede, he wasn't just a soldier in this war. He was becoming a legend, a figure feared and respected by both his allies and enemies alike. The deadly feud between Lamron and Shields became a defining chapter in the story of Chicago's gang wars, and OTF Dede's role in it cemented him as one of the most notorious figures in the game. As the years rolled on, OTF Dede found himself behind bars, but don't think for a second that the man went quiet. No, not Dede. While locked up for that murder he caught in 2014, the pressure didn't stop. The walls of Cook County Jail became just another battlefield in his ongoing war. He didn't just sit back and let the days pass. He ran that joint like he ran the streets. But things were about to get complicated real quick. One day, Dede found himself face-to-face with Lil Sean, a rising figure from PBG, Pink and Black Gang. A crew that, for the most part, kept their distance from the BDs. PBG wasn't actively beefing with the Black Disciples, but when the fates align, or maybe when tempers flare in the confined, concrete jungle of Cook County, things can quickly go sideways. Word is that Lil Sean, who'd been holding it down for his set on the inside, got into some drama with Dede. The source of the tension? Something sparked between the two, something that boiled over faster than anyone expected. But this wasn't just about a petty disagreement. This was personal. Lil Sean wasn't just any ordinary inmate. He was connected, and his right-hand man, Young Pappy, was one of the hottest names on the streets and in the rap game at the time. Pappy's tracks were slapping, the type of drill music that made waves in Chicago and beyond. His raw energy, street stories, and utter disrespect for his ops and his rhymes made him a legend before his time. Pappy wasn't just dissing people in the booth. He was living that life, confronting his enemies in real life. Everyone thought Pappy would be the next big thing. He was the face of Chicago drill, a true force. But that all changed on the streets of Chicago in 2015. Pappy, who was on the rise and making major moves in the rap world, was tragically gunned down. The loss hit Lil Sean hard. Pappy wasn't just his homie, he was his family. And for Sean, Pappy's death was a catalyst, pushing him to go even harder, to get revenge on whoever was responsible. But revenge in the streets isn't ever as simple as it seems. Now, back to the Jailhouse. Dede and Sean's tensions weren't just some random fight. It was tied to the deeper currents of street politics, loyalty, and grief. After Pappy's death, Lil Sean wasn't the same. He was on a mission, determined to make his name known and to get back at anyone connected to Pappy's murder. His emotions were running wild, and inside those jail cells, with nothing but time and aggression on his hands, that rage boiled over into a full-on conflict with Dede. It's not clear exactly what went down between them, but the fight was brutal. Rumors say that the two exchanged words, threats, and maybe even blows. In the concrete jungle of the Cook County Jail, there's no room for weakness. And Dede wasn't backing down. He was already known for being a savage on the outside, and in jail, he carried that same energy. If Lil Sean thought he was going to intimidate him, he was dead wrong. It didn't take long for the tension to escalate, and soon enough, the entire situation spiraled into full-blown drama. With so many strong personalities in the same space, tempers flared, and small incidents turned into massive confrontations. But this wasn't just about personal beef. It was about representing for your crew, your city, your block. Both Dede and Lil Sean were hardcore about their respective affiliations, and in that moment, the stakes were higher than ever. On top of the drama with Sean, Dede was dealing with the aftershocks of Pappy's death. With Pappy gone, it lit a fire in Sean. This wasn't just a street issue now. It was a war, one fueled by grief, rage, and blood. In the jailhouse, every word, every glance, every move meant something. And in the aftermath of their beef, things would only get worse. What started as a personal clash turned into something that would define both of their futures. As the days dragged on, both men carried the weight of their street beefs, their pasts, and their futures. For Lil Sean, Pappy's death wasn't just a loss. It was the start of something darker, a spiral that would take him deeper into the chaos. And for OTF Dede, the jailhouse beef wasn't just a random fight. It was a reminder of the life he chose, a life of constant pressure and danger, even behind bars. The jailhouse beef between these two men became a key chapter in the never-ending saga of Chicago's drill scene. One of betrayal, revenge, and the brutal reality of life in the streets. Rumor has it that Lil Sean got into a series of deadly incidents, but while locked up, Dede and Sean crossed paths, eventually sparking a fight in Cook County Jail. But Dede's real test came after he got out. Durk posted $90K to get Dede out on bond, but what went down next? Straight out of a horror flick, Dede's own ops set him up. Gun to his head, dreads snipped off, and forced to perform a humiliating act on a woman during her period, all while they recorded and laughed. This is the part that shocked the whole city. Dede was known as the threat for a reason. He put in major work for his set, but this hit different. Word spread fast, and memes flooded the internet, roasting him for his humiliation. But behind all that, Dede's reputation was still intact. Dude's a killer, and ain't nobody forget how dangerous he was, even if the ops tried to clown him. But this ain't even the end of it. After Dede caught that viral L, the whole street game was watching to see how he'd respond. Memo600, another rapper who once rolled with OTF, started taking shots at Dede. Memo's internal beef with Durk's crew made things personal. Rumors floated that Mimo tried to blackball Dede, clowning him for getting caught up and for a string of other incidents. Dede responded, saying he'd put hands on Mimo the next time they crossed paths. And man, the streets ain't forget what Dede did before he caught that viral moment. Just a few months before, he allegedly punched FBG Cash in Lenox Mall. That same Cash would be shot and killed in 2022 after dissing King Von. While no one's been arrested for Cash's death, the whispers point back to Dede being involved, with some even suggesting that Durk's track, Threats to Everybody, hinted at the hit. In 2024, Dede's name comes up again, but this time, it's a whole new indictment. He's allegedly tied to a hit on Quando Rondo's homie Lil Pop, though they were aiming for Rondo himself. Durk's crew flew out to LA with Vonnie handling the logistics, guns, whips, hotel rooms, everything except the brains. But the problem? They moved too sloppy. Evidence started piling up, and the feds got involved. What's crazy is that someone flipped. OTF Jam, who was once tight with Durk, allegedly snitched after catching a gun charge. That's the reason the whole OTF crew's now under investigation. They're all facing murder charges for that failed hit on Rondo's crew, and the feds connected it to a track where Durk allegedly bragged about getting the drop. Now, here's where it gets even messy, eh? Jam's been locked up, and rumors started flying in November 2024 that he was shot and killed, though that turned out to be false. What's real, though, is that Jam's flip may be the thing that takes down Durk and OTF once and for all. Some believe that Dede might flip on Durk too, especially after being hit with new charges for armed robbery. No one knows for sure, but it's looking ugly. At this point, the feds have them all: Durk, Dede, Vonnie, OTF Boogie, and a whole lot of others. The paperwork's been filed, and the charges are heavy. Durk's facing life for a conspiracy to murder Rondo. And while people still hold out hope for a miracle, this story's far from over. The twists, the betrayal, the bloodshed, it's only going to get wilder as the facts start coming to light. Stay tuned, cause this is one for the books, and it's about to get crazier. And that's a wrap for today's video. We hope you enjoyed the deep dive and the insight we brought to the table. Before you go, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. Ring the notification bell while you're at it. That way, you'll always be the first to know when we drop something new. Oh, and if you found value in this video, smash that like button. It's totally free, but it helps us out way more than you might think. Every like, comment, and share helps keep this channel growing, so we can bring you even more great videos. Thanks for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay tuned, and keep it locked right here.